So just before we start today, I just thought I'd mention this because it's now coming towards the end of this year. And next week is the 18th December. The following week is the 25th of December, which is a Christmas Day. So we won't have a class on that day. I will remind you, in Facebook and by text and so forth, but just note that mentally now. Both Lisha and Leanne, the hosts, are unavailable, I think, family commitments on that day. And I'm not sure about the 1st of January, New Year's Day. Well, maybe you guys can let me know if you're available by text message through Messenger or something, and then I'll contemplate it. But I'm thinking at the moment that we'll take those 2 weeks off. But if you really hassle me enough, then we can still do New Year's Day. Okay. I think Leanne, I'm pretty sure she said that she could do it if needed. Okay. So at the moment, though, let's say we're going to have the 25th of December off and the 1st of January off. But I will remind you. I just thought I'd mention that right now at the start of the class in case I forgot later. So keep that in mind and now forget it. Okay. And let's do the chanting before we do our meditations. Be mindful, be aware. Let go of the past. Don't worry about the future. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Sangham. I made a mistake. The teacher made a mistake. Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas. May I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas. May I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas. May I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. And may they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Hayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. So there I was saying, be mindful and be aware, and I made a mistake in the chanting. I think that's the first one I've made in all of these Zoom classes. So, and I do the chanting, these verses and prayers at least 3 times a day. So go figure. Imperfections. What can I say? So I was trying to put Sangha before Buddha and Dharma, wasn't I? So anyway, don't worry. When we make mistakes, don't worry about it. You know, actually, and this is not an excuse here, of course, but I remember many years ago, I think it was in the USA, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama was giving a talk, and I was there, and I remember he forgot what he was talking about. He was giving an explanation and then forgot. Just at that moment, he said, "Oh, I'll remember it momentarily." And I thought to myself, you know, when I do the Dharma talks, when I give Dharma talks, there's moments where I actually, especially in those days, not so much now, but where the mind just wandered, you know, and I had a total blank. And then, of course, that would give rise to worry, not wanting to give the students any excuse or any reason for being, you know, lack of confidence in the teacher and so forth. And so, and I thought, oh, His Holiness did it. So maybe it's not so bad after all. You know, a few minutes later, he remembered and gave a beautiful explanation of the subject he was on. So, yeah, when we do make mistakes like that, don't worry about it. You know, just try to correct ourselves for next time. It's already in the past, isn't it? So we will do some meditation now. Just before that, I just share with you, I'm going to try to post this later on Facebook. The Sakyamuni Sambuddha Vihara, or temple, in Melbourne is having a special Zoom meeting tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend or participate, but I told them that I would post it on Facebook. I'm waiting for a higher resolution photo, because the one I have is a bit blurry, for them to send to me. If they don't send that, I'll post the other one. You can still see the Zoom meeting. So it's Australian time, 2 p.m. It's too early for you, Hanukkah, I'd say. Too early for Italy. But anybody else would like to participate, it's commemorating their founder, of their tradition in Sri Lanka, who passed away some years ago now. Anyway, so I told them that I would let you know, let everybody know. And then, like I said, I will put it on Facebook as well. And also on the 18th, so it's next week. Of course, we're having our Dharma class. But during that, just before that, I think after that, there is a conference run by the Subhati University in Meerut in India, along with another Buddhist organization. And they are, I think, running all day, and maybe even another day before as well, and after as well, I'm not sure. And so some of it is live and some is recorded. And I just, Leisha was very helpful to me the other day, and we recorded my speech, 30-minute speech, and I sent it to them already. So that's on the 18th, and that's Subhati University. So Subhati School of Buddhist Studies, I think, at Subhati University Facebook page. You can view that on. So I just thought I'd mention that ahead of time so I didn't forget later. So now let's forget everything I just said. You can review the video when I post it later if you want the information, and check the Facebook page as well. So now bring your mind to your body. And from the tips of your toes to your shoulders, to the tips of your fingers, and then back up to the top of your head. Release any tension that you may have. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't try too hard. Don't be too lazy. Don't try too little. Always remind yourself that the Buddhist path is a middle path. Not too much, not too little, not too tight, not too loose. And when you are ready, bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out of your lungs. Breathing in, breathing out. If thoughts or mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it. Also, don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it. Just let it go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And if during the short session your mind becomes dull, wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this for a few minutes in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this short practice. And fill yourself with universal loving kindness. I feel sometimes that we don't or aren't kind to ourselves enough. You could say don't like ourselves enough. But we are our own best friend. We are our own closest friend. If ever you have these feelings where you don't like yourself, or you don't feel like you're your best friend, then you need to collect your mind and change that. Realize your good qualities, and then realize the opportunity that you have practicing the Dharma to purify your faults. So filling yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your loved ones and friends. And also to strangers. And even those that we may find difficult. May all of these people have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be peaceful. Now radiate out further and further gradually to now include all of those living beings that live right near you. Whether they live in the waters, on the land, fly through the air. Whether you're very familiar with them or not. And further now to include your whole state and all of the living beings that reside in your state or your county. Slowly this loving kindness is radiating out further and further to now include other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. May this whole world be pervaded by happiness and free from suffering, pervaded by peace. May your loving kindness pervades the whole solar system and other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy and other galaxies throughout the vast universe. Your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. While at the same time be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And so I did have another thought about the those conferences, the one for tomorrow. If you can't view it live on the Sakyamuni Sambuddha Vihara Facebook page, then maybe you can, or join the meeting, then maybe you can look it up later and watch it later. It's the same with the Subhati University conference on the 18th too. Okay. So I hope everybody is doing okay today, doing not better than okay actually, doing well, realizing, and I touched on it before, realizing what to adopt in your Dharma practice, what to abandon, adopting the good qualities and working to nurture them and increase them, eventually perfect them, and abandoning any negativities, negative states of mind that may arise. The faults when the ignorance is prevalent, let go of it. When the attachment or the aversion is prevalent, then let go of them too, and all of the others that come from these three. Constantly practice like this. And if you do this and you do it the middle pathway, then you will be very happy all the time, even in the midst of difficulties, even when we're experiencing some suffering of some sort. Okay? Remember, there's three types of suffering. There's the obvious suffering, which we're aware of. Even if we just pay a little bit of attention, then we can know it very clearly, the everyday suffering. And then, of course, there's the suffering of impermanence, where things are always changing. We may have conditions that we really are happy in right now, and then it changes. But also know that the suffering of impermanence, or the impermanence, actually means that your suffering is also impermanent. So you can rejoice in that. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think, that if you can realize with this impermanence that your suffering is impermanent, so rejoice, but your happiness also impermanent right now. So practice Dharma. And then, of course, we have the all-pervasive suffering. There's the different enumerations of suffering. Of course, we can have 8, we can have lots, we can have 80,000 or more. But if you, I think simple 3, is very easy to remember. The everyday, the obvious suffering, the suffering of impermanence, and then the all-pervasive suffering, which also can be known as the suffering of non-self. We don't realize this wisdom yet, and so therefore we are continually reborn in samsara, which is has the nature of suffering all the time. Okay, so anyway, we are speaking, as you know, about the 6 perfections or 6 paramitas, and we're up to the last aspect. In fact, it's the 3 aspects today. I've broken this up a little bit more, the concentration part, where we spoke the first week, it spoke about the concentration itself, and in the next 2 weeks, we spoke about our attachment to distractions and working to free ourselves from this attachment to distractions. And today we'll speak about the 3 different types of concentration: the ordinary concentration, what did I call it here? Discerning concentration, or you could call extraordinary concentration. And then, of course, you have the perfect concentration or excellent concentration of the Buddhas. And we'll speak about this today. Just before I start doing this, I'll just share with you what I plan to do, because we're going to probably be taking those 2 weeks off, or at least the 1 week off. Then next week, I will fulfill a request to explain some meanings behind the verses that we chant at the start of each class. Now, I know some of you have heard this before, so maybe it's good for a reminder, but also I'll try to give some new examples as well, to give more of an overview, more of a wide view, I should say, of the meaning of these verses. And so I remember promising that a couple of months ago. Okay, so I thought maybe because the next part of this commentary on the 6 perfections is the wisdom part, of which there are 3 types, or 3 categories, you could say. And so that is the wisdom of hearing, the wisdom of contemplating, and the wisdom of meditation. And this is how to perfect the wisdom, the prajnaparamita. And so this obviously would be broken up into 3 weeks at least. And I didn't want to have to take a week or 2 off in between. Okay, that's the reason why I decided that next week we will talk about the verses that we chant. Now, I also mentioned to the person who asked me to do this, that actually the whole Dharma, the whole of the Dharma path is in these verses. In fact, you could say the whole of the Dharma path is in maybe one word, maybe the word Buddha, maybe the word Dharma, ultimate truth. But actually, these verses, even though they're very, very short, they're very profound as well. When the more you understand them, the deeper that you can go into the meaning of the Dharma as well. Even though we use them to, you could say at the moment, to kind of almost like doing stretching before physical exercise. We are doing the chanting before meditation and before listening to the Dharma Talk. But actually and also working to absorb our mind with these teachings. But the more you understand them, without clinging now, but the more you understand them, then actually the more you're going to absorb the mind with that understanding. And so it is really important to understand what it is we're actually saying, rather than just doing it off the cuff, even though that's still helpful, because what you're doing there is kind of like focusing on the chanting. Maybe sometimes not focusing on the words, but the chanting helps to bring your mind inside, and maybe even helps you get closer to developing this one-pointed concentration that we want to develop, which is the aspect we're talking about right now, which is the concentration. Okay, so I think that hopefully you don't mind that, the people that have already heard me speak about the verses before, but I think maybe you benefit from that. And maybe we continue to do that in the first class after the new year, whether that be the 1st of January or the 8th of January. And so anyway, I think I may have maybe about 11 minutes to talk now, because I spoke a bit more at the front of the class. But anyway, I've written myself some notes, just one page of notes in very big writing, so I don't have to wear my 1.5 magnifying reading glasses. So the 3 categories: concentration, practiced by ordinary beings is the first one. This is us, I'd say. Okay, and then there's the discerning concentration, practiced when you're much more advanced in the practice. Maybe you are already. And then the excellent concentration of the Buddhas, which I'll speak about in a moment. It is important to mention here that the posture that you use, the position that you're sitting in, or lying down, or standing, or whatever posture you're in, the best one still is cross-legged on the ground, or on a couch if you like, and your bum just a little bit elevated, just to keep your lower back kind of straight, maybe like a cushion under it, and then have your body upright, not rigid, but upright. Your shoulders back without being rigid, not slouching forward, and then your chin slightly tucked in, your tongue resting on the upper palate inside the mouth, lips gently touching, eyes closed, or if it is your practice to practice with the eyes slightly open, looking down at one point, then do that. We have what we call the Verashana 7-point posture. Okay, so you can look that up on the internet. I won't go through every detail. But if we can't do that, then that's okay. Just be comfortable, but don't be lazy. And if you have to bad back and things like that, and you have to lie down or lean up against something, that's fine, because it is your mind that's training. You're not training your back. Even though this is actually can be, unless it's a real chronic problem with your back, actually maybe be able to fix or alleviate a little bit at least your back problems, because it's a nice straight position. This body position like this is kind of how we want our mind to be. We want our mind to be upright like this, not rigid, not lazy, but really clear, upright, virtuous, like that. Okay. Then also you can set the lotus position or the Vajra diamond position as well, if you like. That's where the feet are pointing upwards, either one of them or both of them. It's up to you. If you can do this position, then that's very good as well. Let go of distraction at that time when you're about to do the meditation. Let go of thoughts, a little bit to do with the last 2 weeks of classes of having attachment to distraction. Give up this. You may even have to continue to replace your mind onto your breath, or whatever the object of meditation is. That's okay. Even if you have to do it every few seconds, it's fine. You will get better at it. And eventually you'll be able to stay on the object one-pointedly for longer periods of time. And eventually, of course, that perfect concentration. Eventually, the one-pointed concentration. Try to keep a mind of equanimity, and not a grasping mind, free of attachment, and also a mind that doesn't have like some sort of ill will or aversion or a lack of liking the actual practice itself, or thinking constantly about things that are bugging you, for instance. Try to keep a mind of equanimity, a mind free of bias, free of attachment, free of aversion while you're doing the meditation. And this will lead eventually to perfect concentration. Okay. So anyway, the meditation, normally the level of meditation practiced by ordinary beings is still quite distracting or distracted, as you know, as we just spoke about. But the better we get at it, the more, like I said, we're able to stay on the object. The mind becomes more clear, more stable, more flexible. And you, and as a result as well, become more humble, less attached to self, even less attached to this concept of emptiness or wisdom or trying to attain this perfection. So it's we still have attachment, even as we get a little bit more advanced, we still have attachment to experiences of bliss and clarity and absence of thought during our meditation practice. It feels, you know, those meditations you have that are really nice. It's like you're not even thinking. Your mind's so clear, so vast, you could say. But we still, when we are practicing on this ordinary level, we still have attachment to that, which, by the way, will probably stop you from having it next time. You know, so this attachment will stop you having these beautiful feelings that we may get from time to time in meditation. And even if you have some experiences like this and they're consistent, try your best not to have attachment to these nice, pleasant feelings. We want this again and again and again. Our practice is still tainted by this attachment to these beautiful feelings and these beautiful mind states. All right, so that is on the ordinary level. Now you can say on the extraordinary level, or the discerning level, or discerning concentration. It arises when we are free from attachment to meditative experiences, like I just mentioned. So we're actually free. We've gone past it now, gone past that attachment. But, I should say, this no longer interrupts the meditation. So that you won't get interruptions from attachment to these nice feelings. And then, but we still have attachment to the concept of emptiness as the antidote to our practice, the antidote to ignorance, the antidote to attachment, and so forth. So we still have attachment to this concept. I'm not saying it's the emptiness now. Of course, to us at the moment, it's just a concept, this emptiness. Even though we know differently through our intellect, through our listening to Dharma talks, contemplating the meaning of the Dharma talks, contemplating the meaning behind the words. And even when we've absorbed our mind to a reasonable level with this understanding, it's still a concept. And so when we are at this very advanced level of concentration, we still have this attachment to this concept. Remember, conceptual thinking can also be known as dualistic thinking. So we're thinking of the opposites. Enlightenment to no enlightenment, for instance. Samsara, nirvana. Good or bad. Empty, full. All of these dualistic ways of thinking. Okay, they're all kind of one and the same, isn't it? Self and other and so forth. So we still have attachment to these concepts as the antidote for our lack of concentration or our lack of wisdom and the like. Okie doke. So that's that. Now I'll mention here, so I don't run out of time. I advise you to, or suggest to you that you look at my YouTube channel that Leisha started a few months ago. All of the videos are on there, and look up the part where we spoke about concentration. I think sometime the start of this year, around that period anyway. And just each video, I remind you, has a text with it, and look for the part which says subjects covered. And then you'll be able to have a look at those Dharma talks. You can just fast forward through the chanting, through the meditation and so forth, and then just get to the Dharma talks and remind yourself of what it is that I'm talking about today and the last couple of weeks as well. Because we spoke about the different jhanas, different mental absorptions, and what it is that we're purifying slowly and then realizing slowly along the way, okay? Just so I don't have to repeat myself, okay? Then, of course, we have the excellent concentration of the Buddhas, which is unbroken and spontaneous, of course, free from attachment to the concept of emptiness, of course, and remaining in the true nature of reality all the time. And of course, at the same time, through the compassion, through the bodhicitta, the realization, and the coming from what we call dharmakaya, the enlightened mind, which is the result of the perfection of wisdom. And then, of course, having the sambhogakaya, nirmanakaya bodies, the rupakaya, or the form bodies, the radiance body, as well as the emanation body, the physical body that the Buddha takes on, for instance, to teach beings like us. And this comes from the perfection, you could say, of bodhicitta, of great compassion. So the Buddha is still spontaneously sharing, you could say, the Dharma through radiating it, as well as emanating these different types of bodies. But this is the type of teaching we can go into another time, maybe in a few months even. Okay, and this, but the Buddha, that always in concentration. There's no breaking of it. There's no limitation to it. Okay, and then the actions come out that radiate from this are spontaneous. So don't worry, you're never alone. You could say that the Buddhas are always raining down the Dharma. It's up to us to not stick up our, you could say, umbrella of attachment and ignorance, to stop it from us absorbing it. Okay. So I've already mentioned YouTube. And once again, I'll remind you about taking refuge. Refuge is extremely important all the way up to enlightenment. Refuge in the Buddha, the enlightened being that gave the teachings. You could also say Buddhas, the Buddhas from the past, the present, and into the future. And also your own enlightened nature. We haven't unveiled it yet, but this nature, this Buddha nature, Tathagata Garabha, that is our so-called true nature. We can take refuge in that as well. So you can say homage or refuge in the Buddha within as well. And then, of course, you have the Dharma, the Buddhist teachings. So taking refuge in these teachings, both the written form as well as what you hear, but then also the meaning behind these words. Very important that we contemplate on them to get the understanding of the meaning. Okay, and then the ultimate truth in itself. And also then, of course, the Sangha, friends, our Dharma friends, our Kalya Mitra, or virtuous friends that we share the Dharma with and help us and support us along the way. Okay, so I know that we're under a minute, maybe 20 or 30 seconds to go. So I rejoice in your goodness as always, and I will see you next week. And feel free to shoot me some questions about anything, any way you'd like. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya.